Welcome back to another episode of the Golden Key Conversations, where we talk about the spaces we live in, the energy we carry, and how both shape the life we create. I'm your host, Daniella Parker, luxury realtor and consultant. I really believe that our homes are a mirror of our mindset. And today's episode is going to hit home. No joke. Because we're diving into something that touches everyone at some point. How to create harmony between your space, your stuff, and your soul. And for that, I couldn't think of a better guest than Marla Stone, the founder of Ideal Lifestyle and the author of the Clutter Remedy book. Marla is a professional organizing and life strategist, lifestyle in a way, who helps people transform chaos into clarity. Marla's work goes far beyond decluttering, people. Listen to this. She's a board certified professional organizer and trained how do you say that, Marla? Psychotherapist?
I'm a former psychiatric social worker psychotherapist.
Here we go. Beautifully said. And she blends emotional wellness with practical systems, right? So she's been
Yes.
featured in Forbes, NBC News, and the Huffington Post, and has spent years helping individuals and families find peace in their homes and in themselves. So, Marla, I want to welcome you. I'm so excited to have you here and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Daniela. Thank you.
Of course, you're so blessed we have you here because I feel like your knowledge, your experience is going to bring so much to this audience because decluttering and all the stuff that we have kind of tell a story, right?
Well, yes, I always say the outer is a reflection of the inner. And so when I go into spaces, and I've actually organized and decluttered over 4,000 properties in the last 13, 14 years. And so when I see huge amounts of stuff, just really disordered and messy and crazy, I know something's going on with the person. And they have some sort of inner turmoil. Something happened, either loss of a loved one or, some trauma. And so it's always useful to help someone get through some of that. And I do some lifestyle coaching and some clearing and healing strategies to get rid of the emotional trauma before we get into fixing the space. But once that shift happens, the place is beautiful again. And it's within a couple days.
Wow, interesting. So basically, you're explaining that the stuff we have kind of reveal about who they truly are. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think well, there's some people that have very specific stuff that they've collected. Like I had a lady that collected everything with cows on it, cow dishes, cow towels, cow knickknacks, cow everything. But she told a friend that she liked cows and she had a certain collection, but after that her friends kept giving her cows. And another guy had, hundreds of teacup sets. And him and his wife would travel, and that's what they would always purchase wherever they went. And then she passed away. So the teacups were his memory of his wife and all their trips. So things have meaning and they are symbolic of things or people. And once someone brings that to their conscious mind, like, okay, the teacups are not my wife, and I'm not on a trip now, but they're symbolic of that. And whatever makes someone happy to have around, I don't care what it is. If you want to keep old popsicle sticks, it's not my place to say you can't have it. But generally, what they want is they want it cleared up and they want it all put away. And that's what my job is. So my job isn't to tell people to get rid of things or what they can keep and what they shouldn't, keep, but rather how I'm going to store it, how I'm going to present it in the home so that the home always looks like a model home and the person can keep it that way.
Wow, so you're making my life way easier in a way, right? Because if you,
I yes.
right, like,
Yeah, I work with a lot of realtors, and some realtors have this mindset that they're supposed to tell the homeowner that they should get rid of their stuff or they should make it disappear. And some people are going through a lot of things, life changes, which are very difficult, and so they're not ready to just start hauling through their stuff. So when that happens, we just work with the homeowner and we say, look, we're just going to pack everything by category, very organized. It'll be in clear bins so you can still see it. So if you want to grab something, you can take it out and then put it back. But we're going to make the home look like a model home, staged with whatever you have, or, sometimes they just don't have updated things. So a staging company will come in, but we get the home ready and we work with the client to make sure they're okay emotionally so that they can go through this process with the
wow,
realtor.
wow, it's really interesting because I have a feeling that for some people, letting go feel like grieving, and that's what you kind of talked about. It's a grief, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're going through selling your home that you may have been in for 2 minutes or 20
Yeah.
plus years, and then having somebody tell you that the most important thing is to go through all your stuff and decide what to do with it at the same time you're selling your home. It's not a good mix. So I've done a lot of work with realtors just to let them know your job is to sell the home, advertise the home, present the home. And an organizer's job is to organize the life of the client as far as, getting the house so that it's, looks like no one's living there. Taking down the personal pictures, whatever artwork that they love, and sometimes the client is absolutely ready to go through their things, and we do, like, within 3 days we can declutter everything. They can donate, they can gift things to their family, and we're able to do it that way with the client. But when they're not ready and they're overwhelmed, why make that the focus? Make the focus, get in there, pack up the stuff, get the house for sale.
Well, so the interesting part is I feel like your work sits between psychology and also design, right? Because even though they might use a stager, you still use what's inside the house to kind of make it work this way. That could limit the expense as well.
Exactly. Some people can't really afford to have a staging company come in, and they have perfectly good stuff. It just has to be moved around. We might go and get them some new pillows, that they love. Something that's will be, more aesthetically pleasing for a home buyer to come in. And so I'll talk to them about, why don't we put this old stuff away, or you can donate, or we'll pack it, whatever you want. But I'll go to Home Goods and just get some beautiful pillows. And they have a perfectly great couch, perfectly good coffee table, a few chairs in the, living room. They have a nice dining room table. It's just revamping it,
Yeah.
moving it around so that it looks like a staged home.
Well, I had a situation myself with a seller, right? Beautiful mid-century home here in Palm Springs, and it's like 3,000 square feet, a little bit more than that. So they've been there for like more than 10 years. So they packed up a lot, and I was able to get them, to get not rid, but put the stuff in a garage type of. And then they
Hmm.
had like a whole wall with a lot of pictures, like a memorabilia type of. And I'm like, we need to get rid of
Yes.
this. And their answer is like, oh, it took us 3 days, a week to put this on the wall. There's no way we're going to remove it. And that was the biggest
Yeah.
distraction.
Well, there are probably a lot of holes behind those pictures.
Correct.
So, some people who, if they do it themselves, they will knock 3 or 4 holes in behind that picture. So they were most worried about what they were going to put in place of it because there was going to be a lot of holes. So
Right.
that's you can reassure them that you can have a handyman come by that will fill in those holes, paint the wall. That's one, option. The other option is to tell them, look, I'll get a very large piece of artwork, and from a staging company or even Home Goods. Let's go shopping, find something you'll love for your new home, and we can put that there. So but when you go right to get rid, I actually stopped using the word
Wait,
rid altogether. I even talk about it in my book, The Clutter Remedy,
here we go.
about not using that word.
That's
So,
funny.
because it's a bad word, it even sounds harsh, like rid.
Yeah.
So, it's better to say the house will sell so much better if your personal pictures aren't here, because then someone can envision the home for themselves. What are the options? Here are some options. Which one works for you? And I mean, the worst possible scenario is they're going to say, no, I'm not moving those pictures. And that's it. You could get some plants. You literally get some fake plants or real plants and just line them up in front of those pictures, to camouflage a bit. Uh, there's all, or you could just say, look, I'm going to take them down, but I will put them back, for the showing, which would be so much work. I mean, that wouldn't be worth it for your time. But there's usually a little way in to the homeowner, as long as it's done with respect for their stuff. And you could just be like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It must have taken you so much time. There might be a few holes behind those pictures. I do have a remedy. I have a handyman that will come by, fill those in, and we will pack these beautiful, sentimental things up for you very, very carefully so that we can get this house sold.
I love that approach. I didn't use that. Definitely, it's done for you. We'll fix it for you. You don't have to do it. So we were talking about your book, and you showed it. Can you tell me what's the
Yes,
reason behind this
it's
book? How did you
the
come up with
Clutter
it?
Remedy. Well,
Kind.
it's called The Clutter Remedy, a guide to getting organized for those who love their stuff, because not everyone wants an organizer to barge in with the focus of having that the solution is getting rid of stuff to get the home organized. That's not the solution, because I could organize someone's home and 3 weeks later they'll make a big mess again because they have inner turmoil. So most organizers don't have my background, so they don't know how to address that inner part so that people will stay organized. I think it's really about, first of all, finding out what a client values in life. So the book actually starts with, what do you value? Because I have had people that have belongings in their home, like knitting, or like old games or old books. And I'll say, are you still reading all these books? And they'll say, no. And then I'll say, are you still knitting? No, that was when my grandchildren were small. Or, they'll have sports equipment, and I'll say, do you still play tennis or golf? No. So I'll say, well, what's that doing in your real estate? Is it sentimental, or is it serving a purpose? And a lot of times it's because they spent so much money, and they're literally like confused in this cycle of what do I do with it? You know, if I'm not using it, what am I going to do with it? So we talk about selling the
Yeah.
items, especially if they're valuable, and they usually love that idea, or even donating. And then I'll say, you know, what do you love to do now? And they'll say, well, I love, you know, mahjong, or I love, you know, I play bocce ball or whatever. And or they do puzzles. So now once we get the stuff out that they don't use, now we have all this space for the things they do use, so that, you know, it's not ending up on the floor or the table
Right.
or the desk. So they generally appreciate the nudge to examine their belongings and see how it's best purposed.
So here's what I noticed. The what if. I'm keeping it what if I need it later. So how do you, I'm sure in your book, maybe you're addressing that. Like, what would be your answer if I tell you, oh no, I'm keeping this first money, definitely. And sometimes, well, what if I can fit in that dress in, when I lose weight,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, the first thing I teach people is that nothing in their home is a need. It's something they either want, or they will use, or they don't want it and they will never use it. But it could be sentimental. It could be something that gives them memory. It could just be that they love it. It's like a piece of decor. You don't wear it, but they just love it. So we take a look step by step. You know, we categorize everything they own first, so they're not looking at random things. That's another mistake many organizers make, is they don't first sort everything by category. And you know, you show them all their books, you show them all their black jeans, all their, you know, white blouses, all together. We gather from the entire home till we have every single thing they own categorized. That's the first step. And when they get in that quandary of what if, you know, we go, for instance, what if I lose the weight? That's a big one. I usually say, if you lose the weight, you're not going to wear this very basic pair of jeans that really, it's not designer label. It's not, you know, it's not something you can't find again. And they'll be like, yeah, you're right. I would go if I lost 20 pounds, they would go shopping again. So that's, you know, little ideas. But the bottom line is, if it takes too long for them to decide, because they're paying by the hour, per person per hour, I'm not going to take candy from a baby. I, you know, if they're in a quandary, it just becomes a keep. It's that
I
simple.
see.
It's a keep. We don't keep, you know, going over and over things. And sometimes people will have like 3 or 4 purges, you know, over a course of a couple years, 2, 3 years, and they'll remember what I taught them. You know, they'll take that pair of jeans that they thought they wanted, and now they've lost the weight, or they didn't lose the weight, and they're like, why did I keep that?
Right?
So,
Especially if they
but
bought
people
it
have to come,
20 years ago.
yes, exactly. But there's also people that I catch that start giving away, or they say they don't want very valuable things.
Right.
And that shows me that there may have a sign of depression. People that are suicidal start giving away the farm before they commit suicide. They actually start just giving away things that meant that they cherished. So I'm very careful with clients. I'll be like, no, you're not giving that away. I'm
So
sorry,
you can
that's
you can
either going to
recognize
be
the
sold.
signs. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
You can
And
recognize
and
the
just
signs.
anything valuable. Yes. And listen, I'll repurpose things too. So somebody might have like a big, beautiful box, and they're like, oh, I don't want that box. And I'll say, no, we can use this box for your mail on the kitchen counter. And they'll be like, oh, because they're too close to the mountain. They can't see their stuff clearly anymore. So it's really about protecting the client and helping them make good decisions about what they keep in their life.
Yeah, no, really interesting. Definitely, I love the repurposing. I feel like sometimes, like you're saying, when we have an object every day, we don't see that we can reuse it for something else. And I have to say that I really admire what you just said, that you are capable and able to see signs in people just by them giving away their belongings or the stuff they love, or the opposite. I'm like, how do you work with that? You know, let's say you stumble upon someone and you feel like you see the signs. Like, what do you tell them?
Well, I'm not a therapist anymore, so I don't, go in that direction. Uh, but when I see like irritability or they start crying, like I mean, we could pick up a bowl, a candy dish, and say, "Tell me about this." We don't say, "Do you want it?" or "Do you?" Certainly, we don't say, "Do you need it?" But we don't go right to "Do you want it?" because it's like doe in the headlights. That's what we're there for, to help them. So we said, "Tell me about this," and all of a sudden they just start crying, and we don't know where that's coming from. So, and then they could get angry over a dish or a mug, a coffee mug. We don't know what happened with them and what that memory is. So I just say, "Tell me about this," and then they'll start to unwind the story. And then I'll say, "You know what? You're not in any shape to make any decisions right now about what you're keeping, what you're not keeping. Do you have health insurance? Can you go talk to someone?" I can do some coaching to get them through some things. But if I see that this is a really deep, dark issue and it's not a good time for them to be decluttering, then we'll halt the work. And I mean, if there's something like that, they're going to lose their home or it's so important that they sell their home, I will just say, "Listen, we're going to pack it up. We can come to you later wherever you go. At some point, you'll read my book, so you'll know how it's done. And then you can go through your things." But the forcing of the process of decluttering, and how I think a lot of professional organizers that I've witnessed and spoken to, uh, making that their main mission, is they have completely missed the person, soul. They forgot that there's a human there, a human element that is mixed with stuff very heavily. I started to realize that people were like very needy, and they would say, like, "I need that," or "I gotta have that," or "I need some new shoes," or I need to do this, I need. So like this needling. And then I'm like, where did this come from? And I thought, well, probably early advertising, like when radio and television came out, they started selling things, and they're like, "You need a new this," and and they were using that word "need" instead of "you want this," to get into the emotional aspect of people, which was not a good course. But if you think about the first thing we ever held in our hands, it was either a bottle or a boob, right? Which had a need in it, because that was food. So needs to me are air, food, water, shelter, sleep, elimination, and sunlight. Those are the seven things that keep us alive. Without those seven things, you can die. So when people start saying, "I need," I'm like, well, if for instance somehow the candy dish disappeared, you are not going to die.
So true.
And the other thing I talk about is that we're on this planet. Nothing really ever goes anywhere. I mean, it could get broken and crushed into pieces, but it's still here. And we talk about that when people go through their belongings. Some people believe their belongings are worth so much money, and I'll look it up on chat or on the internet, eBay, and I'll say, "Really, it's only worth like $20. I know you, but it's not about what it's worth. It's, do you love it? Is it sentimental? Will you use it? Does it serve a purpose?" And then they'll make good decisions when they have that criteria.
Wow. Very mind-blowing what you just said. So if if I'm a random person and I want to hire someone like you, how do your clients find you in general?
They can find me on my website. It's i-deal-lifestyle.com. And so it's
Put it in the
www.i-deal-lifestyle.com. And just they can call me or email me. And the first thing I do is I do a free 30-minute phone consultation. So I know if this is a person that's on board or it's somebody that's like just wants things cleaned up for Thanksgiving and they have no intention of keeping order in their life. They don't really want to learn about, being organized, versus somebody who's authentically interested in my total services, which is learning how to stay organized permanently. So you don't keep going around like a hamster in a wheel. And then I'll set up a time to go do an in-person assessment. And that's when I really go into all the closets, the cabinets. I look at everything, their garage. I look at everything in their under their bed. I just want to know how much stuff they've accumulated. So I know like how long would it take for us to categorize it? How long would it take for us to move things around? Perhaps get an armoire on an empty wall if there's not enough space to hold their things. Do some measurement of their drawers to see about drawer inserts. We use a lot of the tools of the trade, like drawer inserts, so things stay categorized even in drawers. And then we set up a time to come out as a team.
So typically, will it take 3 sessions? Is it more like 3 months? Like, let's say if I want to work with you on a
Oh
deeper
no,
level.
no, I've never. I've had homes that were filled to the gills, and there was squalor, like dead animals. And those jobs only took 4, 5, 6 days. I think the longest job I've ever had in over 4,000 homes was 6 or 7 days. I just get a big enough team because you don't want to prolong this pain for a person. If their place is in really dire straits, or if they're getting ready to move, or if they've lost their husband and it's been 2 years and the husband's clothes are in the closet and now they're ready finally, we're not going to prolong that and session. There's some organizers that have mixed up professional organizing with a personal assistant job, and they want to be around that person and take their money forever. And they have no clue really how to organize a person's life for good. And so they really shouldn't call themselves a professional organizer. They should just call themselves a personal assistant that doesn't really change anybody's life
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the
except their
personal
own,
assistant.
except their own bank account.
Yeah, it's so true. The personal assistant is want to be around and they want to feel needed, and also for financial
Exactly.
stuff.
And for some people, as long as the personal assistant is accomplishing daily tasks and
Yeah,
certain things that the owner wants them to do, that's fine, but don't call yourself a professional organizer.
right.
Professional organizers generally have a background in mental health, or they were like assistant to CEOs. That's the original professional organizers that started like National Association of Professional Organizers, or now it's called National Association of Productivity and Efficiency Experts. They come from a highly skilled background. They can
Oh,
organize a CEO and everyone in that company, and they know every detail of large, medium, small businesses. They're the gatekeeper. And so, you want somebody with a very good background, educated, has insight into human behavior. Otherwise, you're just getting somebody that will seal envelopes for you or run to the market or, that sort of personal assistant, type up a letter perhaps, but that's a different trade.
No, that's really important what you just said because it puts you in a different category. And then me as a professional
Hmm.
realtor, like we are constantly bombarded with stagers and with people trying to help you out. But at the end of the day, what you just explained totally makes sense. And I understand why you have that level of expertise where you can understand how your language will affect someone's action, right?
Yes, language is key. So the I need or I have to or I got to thing is instead of I will. We've lost the word will in our language. So we always say, oh, I need to go to the store. I have to do this. I got it. That's one aspect. The other is indecisive language. If, but, could, should, maybe, probably. When you hear somebody say to you, I'll probably sell my house in May, you don't know what that means.
Correct.
So, in order to get someone to be decisive, you want to sit down and say, I'm not sure what probably means, but what is it that you want to do with your life? Understand what they want in life. And if they say, well, I've been thinking about moving closer to my grandchildren, you can say, well, have you taken a trip first of all? I have had so many clients that moved near their grandchildren and then they were sorry, sorry, sorry that they sold their home and now they couldn't come back. The prices went up. So being a great realtor, I think, is also like being a counselor in a way to really understand the client and what they want as far as a lifestyle so that you can have repeat business. Because let's say you do take that, you get so excited that somebody's going to move to their grandchildren, but you never explored whether they even traveled there and stayed there for a couple weeks to see if they really liked the area. That's more of a counselor. That person's going to come back and use you when they finally decide, but it may not be near their grandchildren. It may be that they're going to downsize and now they want or they want a different style home. They want a mid-century home in Palm Springs, or they want to be near the beach, the water. But learning about what makes them tick and where their friends are, who they hang out with the most, and why would they leave all that to go hang out with grandkids and young, children with these grandkids that are very, very busy and most likely only going to use you for occasional babysitting.
You nailed
And
it.
that's what they find out. Yeah, that's what they find out. And then they come back and then they end up renting. And, eventually, though, they'll say, I made a mistake, but if you guide them carefully, they won't make that mistake. You can help them problem solve their life. Many people that start to think, I want to sell my house, they may be unhappy in some aspect. And so all of a sudden the house becomes the problem. But if you are very much able to really listen to them and get them to figure out what their ideal lifestyle, which is in my first chapter of this book, there's a whole chapter, the first chapter, talking about what do you value? What is your ideal life? So that indecisiveness, whenever you hear indecisive words, start exploring with them. And then the other thing, the other part of the language thing I talk about is people start saying things like, I feel like, or I feel that, and it's followed by a thought. And as you know, as a French speaking person, and adjectives, have gone away from most of our language.
So
We're
true.
just saying, like, I feel like, I feel that, kind of, sorta, all these weird little idioms in our language now. And we've stopped saying, I feel unhappy, or I feel joyous, or I feel enthused. We're not using all those adjectives that are in all of our languages. And that makes us very robotic. We've become like unfeeling. We're
I think,
afraid to share feelings too.
yeah, exactly. Scared to share feelings. We don't want to be accountable for owning the feelings. But from everything you said, is definitely you value connection. And as a realtor, I value
Yes.
connection as well because I want to repeat business, But like you said, I want to make sure that person is making the right decision for their lifestyle. Because people tend to forget, like you're saying, they want to move, go with the grandkids, but they don't realize it's a total change in the lifestyle. I had a situation the other day where I met this lady at the hair salon, and she's like, "Oh, I'm looking here and there." I'm like, "Well, did you drive in that neighborhood at night time just to see, to make sure? Because you go to her home at 11 or at 3. It's not the same when you go at 6, 7. It's totally different neighborhood, right?" So I'm like, "Did you?" So it kind
Exactly.
of exactly goes with what you just said. Like, did you travel over there? Did
Yes.
you spend a
Yes.
week? And do you really like it? So interesting.
Exactly.
Well,
Yes,
I had
the
another,
realtor that's a counselor and a protector is very important.
correct. So I see everywhere, like in our industry, we have many hats, right? We can be the assistant, we can be the financial advisor, we're going to be the realtor, we're going to be the psychiatrist, we're going to be the best friend. Then they hate us,
Yeah.
right? So do
In
you
a
go
lot
through
of
the same?
professions. Yeah, my mom was a hairdresser and my dad was a CPA. And I'll tell you, they were both counselors. My dad wasn't just telling people about where to put their money, he was hearing that they got divorced or they lost a son or they had gambling problems or what, and my mom was hearing about women unhappy with their husbands and talking about their children. And so I said, no wonder I ended up being a therapist. It's in my blood.
Yeah,
But
you grew
and
up with
some
it.
people have it are just business people, they're just sell, 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 sell. I know a lot of realtors, I know a lot of hairdressers, I know a lot of CP, they're salespeople. They really don't have the human connection. But how long do you think a person is going to do business with that type of person? Are they
Correct.
going to do it once only? Are they going to do it again? Probably not. They'll look somebody for somebody that has more of that human element.
Yeah, the empathy. I feel like we are in that world where it's like sterilized a little bit, and everybody's like we have us,
Yes.
yeah, formatted. So definitely having empathy and putting yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding what they're going through. But definitely your mom and your dad for sure. They probably have like funny stories and probably sad stories as well, right? So
Yes, I mean they heard a ton, it's just a ton of human life,
yeah.
and they were very good at listening and helping people to feel better about themselves and my in my mom's case their hair and my dad's case their
In
finances.
their finances. And sometimes all they need is just someone to listen. And sometimes just being that person makes a difference, right? So,
Well, we anyone who says they don't want human connection generally has a personality disorder. And there's 9 personality disorders. And one in general is called schizoid personality disorder. It's different than schizophrenia, but they don't require the same connection. They don't want it. And it's not their fault. It's part of their personality system and somewhat genetic. And you want to know, I think realtors would do very well with having like just a quick snapshot of the DSM,
mhm,
the main
it is-
things that, psychiatrists do see and diagnose, just so you're like, you know, I want to approach this person differently. They don't want that human connection. They just want to know facts, and
yes,
then, you go into the facts and exploring like how they like to work with someone. Do you like, do you like a lot of advice? Do you want me to have a lot of input? Or do you want to ask the questions? Whatever you ask, I will answer. Having that come see, come saw relationship the sellers and buyers is good.
You
And
still there?
I remember taking some sort of
Did I
sales
lose you?
training where they said match
Hello?
the
Oh,
person you're working with. Like
okay,
if they
yeah.
were like, oh, no, 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 you know, you would be like, ooh, do, do, do. And if they were very quiet, you would become quieter. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, mimicking the
And it's not being
behavior.
fake. It's, yeah, it's not being fake. It's being respectful of
Yes,
their
right.
energy and their demeanor.
So one thing that I do address with my clients is like I try to understand if they're like you're saying more visual or they're more numbers or they're more facts because like you're saying everybody's different and personality really matters in the type of business we are in because we're constantly like I talk to my clients probably more like within that 30 days transaction we can talk so many times, right? And then the buyer remorse we have to
Mm-hmm.
go through that. So basically when people hire
Yes.
me to help to help them find a home or sell a home, I quickly realized it's rarely just about real estate, like we were talking. It's about releasing sometimes like an old chapter, like stepping into a new one,
Mm-hmm.
relocating
Yes.
other grandkids. So I was curious, like, where do you see that same emotional transition happening in your work?
Well, brainstorming, having questions for the client, very open-ended questions. I like to start generally with just tell me about what you're thinking. Tell me about, if you could visualize your ideal lifestyle. I have an ideal lifestyle visualization exercise where they'll close their eyes and I'll say, visualize the home that you're dreaming of, that, visualize how you would love to see your home. And then they'll visualize that, and then I'll say, now close your eyes and visualize it how it is now, and I'll check in with their feelings. So when I say visualize your dream home, they'll say they feel good, and then I'll say, well, visualize, go around your entire home with your eyes closed, visualize your entire home, look in the drawers, look in the, and then sit there for a little bit and then open your eyes, and then I'll say, how do you feel now? And they'll be like, I'm so bummed out, I'm so sad, I'm so overwhelmed. And so that helps them. And also you can tell them if they're saying, oh, I want to move to Zimbabwe, out of the blue, and they've never even been to Zimbabwe. You could say, well, can you visualize Zimbabwe? No. Well, then I think a trip is in order before you're going all the way across the world to live.
It's a
Um,
different
if
level.
they're going through, if they've lost someone, I'm definitely processing that with them. I'm not starting with like, what price range are you looking at,
Right.
or like what color bins do you want? We're talking about the loss, whatever they want to share. And then I have some techniques to help them heal you know, and come to terms with those things. If there's been a divorce, and it's funny because I get a lot of divorced men because they're like, I don't have a wife anymore, and I don't know what to do with that. I don't even, they're like, I don't even know where the silverware goes. And I'm like,
Wow.
well, it goes near the dishwasher. And so, but they've never operated a home in their life. So there's a lot of things that I want to know, so I can, I'll know how much responsibility they want me to take when they tell me I'm at a loss completely. Can you take over? So you asking someone, what do you want to do in this? Do you want to arrange stagers? Do you want to arrange the movers? I do have a list, uh, but I also have organizers. They pack in a different way. Movers tend to just take drawers out and dump them in paper boxes. So when they get to the other side, they've got just a mess. And I get called in for that. They'll say, I have these movers. everything's in total disarray, and then we go in and categorize everything, and then they're decluttering on that end. They didn't do the decluttering before. So, and
Oh,
again,
interesting.
you don't, as a realtor, you do not want to force the decluttering. If you can tell they're so overwhelmed just with the idea of moving, and they're going through grief or loss or whatever, even if they're getting married and it's joyous, the last thing they may want to do is go through their stuffed animals from their childhood.
Right.
They just, and they'll deal with it on the other end, particularly when their husband says, "Oh my goodness," their new husband says, "You have stuffed animals from childhood," you know, which is fine if they want them, but it's there's definitely a separation that you want to happen with emotion and stuff. You do not want to mix emotion with stuff.
Wow, I love that. Okay, that hits me pretty hard. Okay, got it. So, who's your
Yeah.
ideal client for our audience?
So actually, respectful, someone that is not self-medicating. That's number one. I can count on two hands clients in over 4,000 homes that had addiction issues, that were addicted to a substance, and that's very difficult because they get very angry, and it's, you don't know where it's coming from. And I didn't have my therapist hat on, so I will ask people now, are you physically able to get through this, emotionally able to get through this? I don't pry, but are you on any medications that would inhibit you from, being stable through the process, or, able to make good decisions? And the respect. It's funny because I went from being a psychotherapist in private practice with great respect from my clients to being an organizer where some people looked at me as if I was a housemaid, like that level. And I was like, "Oh no, 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 no. You will treat me with great respect, or
That's
or it's over."
confidence. That's true confidence
Yeah, no,
because,
you want to have boundaries.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so your ideal client doesn't take any substance abusing any substance, and then what else? What do you look in that personality? Or you work with any personality?
Yeah, and I'm not saying you can't be on medication,
Yeah,
but
of
as
course.
long as you're not having addiction issues, you'll meet people and they come to the door completely drunk, and you're like, "Oh gosh, we can't be here when you're like that."
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into a home where a person is like drunk as a skunk and think I'm going to provide a service for them. So I'll say, like, "Listen, I'll come back a different day, but no, this is not going to work out." And respectful, and that they can afford it. I don't want someone that, ends up being regretful, or, like you said, having buyer's remorse.
Yes.
So in those cases, I can say, "Look, if your budget is this is what I can do for you. I can do an assessment. I'll go around. I'll tell you how I would do it. You can hire movers. You can read my book and then, hire
Yep.
movers. And as long as you read this, you'll know how I do it. This
Give
book
us
is like
the name
having,
of your book again. Give us the name of your book
The
again.
Clutter Remedy,
And
a
where do we
guide to
find
getting
it?
organized for those.
Where do we
You
find it?
can you can get it from my website at i-deal-lifestyle.com. It's on Amazon. It's still at Barnes Noble.
Oh,
It
nice.
was a big publisher, same publisher as Eckhart Tolle and Dan Millman with Peaceful Warrior. There's a New World Library. They publish books that change people's lives. And so I work within everyone's budget. I can do virtual organizing where I literally look, somebody can take me through their house with their laptop or their phone, and it's very effective.
Wow.
And I can say, this is, and I'll bring them through exactly how to do it.
So you're like a true healer in a way. So one more question.
Yeah.
If you could teach us a system to be in harmony with our space, what would it be?
Well, I think the most important thing, first of all, is to have things like with decor. Make sure it's uplifting to you, that you love it. You don't want to just have like stuff in your house just because you were supposed to put a picture right there on the wall and you don't even like it. I go into a lot of homes and they have stuff and they're like, I don't even like any of this. And they mean it. Our taste changes every 7 to 8 years. So I'll say, well, let's really take it step by step, and I'll have them go around and put little stickers on the things that they absolutely want out, and they'll put like a green sticker, means go. And if it's something they absolutely want to stay, it's a red sticker. If they're indecisive, it could be yellow or green or yellow. So, and then I'll help them problem solve that. I'll say, well, will you use this? Is this sentimental? It serves a purpose. Serves a purpose is like the key to your fireplace. You may never turn the fireplace on, or the key to the pool. You may never go to the pool, but you're not going to get rid of it. You're going to want to keep it for the next owner. But a lot of stuff ends up in the sentimental. And I'll say, well, how sentimental? Is it sentimental so you want it displayed, or you want it in a bin in the garage so you know it's there, so your heart can rest that you have that sentimental item? And then easy access to everything you own in your home. There's nothing like being like a chicken without a head, where you're just running around always looking for your stuff, pawing through drawers, through your looking for things. Having a home that's organized by category, so every single category has a home, and it's all fine tuned, is brings great peace to your life. And also just having things that are beautiful, that you love around your home, the color scheme, a type of fabric, a pillow can be uplifting. It's and then the other part is making sure that you surround yourself with people that support your lifestyle instead of demean it, and that are positive energy for you in your life. Because you could have a beautiful home, you could have all the money in the world, you could have everything organized, and then have very negative people that you somehow accept and keep around, and then you don't know why you're feeling so badly.
Yeah, decluttering the people, the negativity around us is big. And
Exactly.
sometimes,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you cannot, because it's a family member, or it could be someone really close, right? But I
Yeah, well,
mean,
even then, that's when you want to start to set boundaries. And
correct.
honestly, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, to have to have inner harmony and clarity, you want to start removing anyone that gets in the way of that. And so whether it's a family member, a coworker, setting the boundaries to see if they can have the respect and not cross the boundaries. And everyone has different types of boundaries. Some people may say, well, I can tolerate this, but I cannot tolerate this. So it's the things that you will not tolerate. And if the person continues, I don't care who they are, including children, if they are going to be abusive, you want to stop that as soon as possible. And if you want help, then get some help to do that. Go to
Yeah.
therapy, go to group therapy. Group therapy is great for that. because they catch, you have like 10 people catching those inconsistencies. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, my sister who stole from me came by last week, and the group will be like, what?
But yeah,
So,
again,
yeah,
being so close home, sometimes you don't see what's happening. It's Marla, I have to say this has been such an eye-opening and heart-centered conversation. We went through the house, to the soul, to the shadows, to the people. It's amazing. I really love how you bring psychology structure into and soul together, right? So I feel like
yes,
this helping people not just to organize their homes, but truly understand the emotion behind the stuff and behind the people too, right? So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
and I can already think of so many clients who will benefit from your work, including me. Like right now, I'm like, okay, as soon as we're done, I'm going to close my eyes and go through the different part of my house. And do I really need this? I do some decluttering here and
Well,
there.
don't do need. Yeah, don't do need. Say,
Yes.
do I use the criteria? Will I use this? Even if it's once a year, like a turkey platter.
Yeah, right.
But if you have 30 turkey platters and you don't have Thanksgiving, then think, what do they mean to me? What do
Right.
they symbolize? Doing that helps you make a good decision. And then, does it serve a purpose? Those are things you're going to keep. But if you have like, you know, those little tools you fix your eyeglasses,
Right.
if you wear glasses, you want one. But if you have 30 of them or more, think about donating some of them. If you live in an area and it doesn't rain very often and you have 12 umbrellas, think about these things. What am I doing with 12 umbrellas? And then, is it sentimental? How sentimental? Sentimental, so I want it displayed in the garage. And then, do I love it? If you love something, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a piece of paper. If you love it, when you see it, it makes you happy, that's a keep. Think in terms of keep, not get rid of.
Yes, and remove the word need out of this language. Well, I feel like we're
Yes.
also talking about a different type of personality that we don't want to go there, but they have a tendency to have a lot of stuff. Like I've been working with a seller one time, and she would not let me in the house, and I realized why. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't want me to see how much stuff she had accumulated, and like you're saying, the 12 umbrellas and the dolls or whatever she had. It was insane. So it's really like when someone is getting ready to sell, relocate, or downsize, it's never just about the house. It's really, like you explained, letting go of memories, rewriting the stories, and making space for the next chapter, right? So
Exactly. Exactly. And with people with lots of stuff that won't let you in, I think they're searching for like how much could they get for the house. And you can say, well, in poor condition it would be this much, in medium in the best condition. You can give them ballpark prices, but obviously no one's going to sell a house they can't go into,
yeah.
because those, if somebody, we don't know if they have hoarding disorder at that point. And with hoarding disorder, you could sell the house and they may never leave. Then you've got the police involved, and
Yeah.
so you want to, and you can say, look, I'll come over, and there's no judgment. If I don't care if it's packed to the gills, I can still see your floor plan. I can see if you did any upgrades, or if you just want to take photos and send it to me, because sometimes they're so embarrassed. And so I'll say, just send me some photos and I'll give you a ballpark price. I can't guarantee the price, but I'll give you a
Yeah.
ballpark, and then we can go from there. But also just to say, but where are you going to go? That's the first question I would ask anyone who wants to sell a house. What are your plans? Where are you going? Before I even get into anything with their home.
Yeah,
Get to know about their
where they're
life.
going. I mean, we do have, especially here in the desert, like second homes. So they live in a different state and that was an investment property. They want to get rid of it. Those are the easiest in a way because it's either vacant or rented. And then I can play with someone like you where I think we could work together, put homes looking amazing for pictures, first of all, like the
Yes.
photography now, it's what you see everywhere on the platforms, and definitely making it either turnkey, move-in ready, or just this way the buyers, when they walk in, they feel like welcome and then they can have that vision. So if you're listening right
Yes.
now and you're standing at that crossroads, I'm talking to the audience, maybe you're maybe you're selling your long time family home or just craving a fresh start. You can reach out to us, Marla Stone. I'm going to put all the description below where you can find her, link to her website, and definitely you need to get the book. I'm going to get the book. And Marla and I can join forces to help clients like you create smoother, more aligned transitions. Anything you want to add, Marla, to this?
I think you said it so well, and I'm very grateful to be on your show and to be able to share this with you and your audience. And I think, yeah, anyone who wants to have a free 30-minute phone consultation, my phone number is 949-709-7000.
Oh, perfect. Well,
Yeah.
I think this is a wrap.
And I would
We,
love to work with you. And I'm in Palm Springs a lot. My dad lived in Rancho Mirage, so it's like a
oh
second
yeah,
home to me.
perfect, perfect. I
And
have a listing in Palm
yeah,
Desert and love Rancho Mirage. We need definitely to have something together here.
we
Also, what I
definitely
wanted,
want that. Yeah.
yeah. So if the conversation inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to see this. We went through different level of psychology, thanks to Marla. And you can also leave a quick review. Please visit her website. Please get the book. Stay tuned for more golden key conversation that unlock not just your homes, but definitely healing. Marla, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Daniela.